Hi, I'm Louise Krikorian, and this is Shaping Our Story, where I talk with exemplary leaders about passion, purpose, and perseverance to share ideas on how you can thrive. Today, our guest, Pete Caldera, has covered the Yankees baseball team around the world for over 20 years and sings Frank Sinatra standards with the Stan Rubin Orchestra in New York City clubs, like the Carnegie Club, Winnie's Jazz Bar, and the Jazz Loft. He also performs at private and corporate events, but Pete has also been featured several times on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert to sing his Sinatra-style interpretations. Welcome and hello, Pete Caldera.
Hi, Louise. So good to see you.
It's so good to see you too. You know, I was thinking about when we met at Donatello Italian Restaurant in
Yes,
Tampa, Florida. You came down with the Yankees because you write for the Bergen newspaper,
Bergen Record. Yep.
and yeah, and you were here with a group from the Yankees, and you got up to sing with Kitty Daniels, and I was like, oh my goodness, he sounds just like Frank Sinatra.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't think anybody can sound like Frank. You can just hope to do it in the style that people like to hear it. But thank you.
Yeah, I think that was in 2016.
Yeah, and we'd been going to Donatello's and getting to sing and do some wonderful music with Miss Kitty and Majid. Uh, Even years before that, I would come in with groups of writers, of fellow writers, and I just got so much encouragement from my friends and getting that feedback, and of course, you know, just having a marvelous time with Miss Kitty and getting to know her, and of course, I mean, how amazing a person she was, and that great everlasting documentary you did on her life, which was so important for her legacy. And I personally thank you for that, and everyone should go watch that if you haven't. But I mean, to experience that, I mean, that was some of the greatest times I've ever had. Just experiencing that and doing that great music off the cuff, just calling out songs and then getting to hear you and all the other talented people around Tampa just do their thing. And of course, Miss Kitty, just a legend, and she was just amazing to hear. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed those times.
Me too. So, whenever you come back in Tampa, I look forward to hearing you sing. And when I go up to New York City, I'd love to hear you too.
Yeah, you come
So,
anytime.
yeah, thank you.
And I'm so glad Miss Kitty got to experience it too.
Me too.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun.
That was great. So, you write for the Bergen Record in North Jersey,
Yes.
traveling with the Yankees around the world. And you also sing the Frank Sinatra style standards. So I always start with a question: what is your passion or interest? So we can either focus on one or the other, or we can talk about both.
Well, I've been very lucky enough to, have a few passions that I've been able to uh, follow those tracks and have a professional life in both. I mean, I love baseball ever since I can remember, and if you can't play it on a high level, I have a passion for uh, writing as well, obviously, and to sort of put those two together and follow a path towards baseball writing that was one track that I always wanted to follow, and then the music kind of came later. And I've been very fortunate with my employers at the record and NorthJersey.com to allow me to follow those two paths, and it has led me to a really fulfilling time just being able to do the music too, which I really love, and fortunately been getting to do more of. And here in New York City at the Carnegie Club, and filling in occasionally for Stephen Maglio with the great Stan Rubin Orchestra, doing the Sinatra shows here, and then doing some jazz clubs and other private events too. It's been everything I could have hoped for, really. When you talk about having to follow those two paths along, and to do it in New York City, which is my hometown, and there's nothing like it.
I think it's really, I want to call it luck that you were born in Brooklyn. You grew up in New York City. I mean, I can't imagine if that had happened anywhere else. But you were listening to WYNY with the Sid Mark Sounds of Sinatra radio show,
Sure
and
was. Yeah.
WNEW, Jonathan Schwartz. I remember Jonathan Schwartz because I grew up in northern New Jersey, and he was an expert on the Great American Songbook, and that's music from the 30s and the 50s, and he
Yeah.
had a Sinatra Saturday show. But your mom also had Frank Sinatra albums.
Yeah, I kind of probably got exposed to. Well, I mean, and also that was the music of my grandparents' era too, and and also, if you watched a Bugs Bunny cartoon of those ones that were made in the 40s and 50s that were replayed in the 70s and 80s when we were growing up, a lot of that music was there too, and
Yeah.
you had to be exposed to it, and
Yeah.
I mean it reached me, and I loved it. But my mom had all the Sinatra albums, and I would tape. I would put her albums to tape when you had that record player that it could also turn vinyl into cassette tapes, and then I would also tape the shows, those radio shows for her too, and then I grew to love it almost instantly. And I also grew up in a home where my dad had he's an opera guy, and growing up in a home that was listening to things by Verdi and Puccini, and the live at the Met every Saturday afternoon. That was coursing through the home, so you got exposed to that too. And my dad, as big an opera fan as he is, he was he grew up in the Elvis Presley era too, and loved that music. So it was all that that I was lucky enough to be exposed to, and it's quite an education.
I remember when I met your parents at the Carnegie Club,
Yeah.
and I think I was talking to your dad, and he said something about it could have been him, it could have been you. It was a couple of years ago. Somebody said, he could have gone with Elvis Presley, but he didn't.
Right. Well, it's true, but there's something about Sinatra's music that's just timeless, and when I say that, I mean, that's Sinatra interpreting the music of the great composers and lyricists of the day, and I mean that's the story of American popular music in the 20th century.
Hmm.
Gershwin and Berlin, and of course, then moving on to all the great arrangers and conductors that Sinatra was associated with, from Riddle to May to Mandel, that and all of them. I mean, that just it just runs the whole course of popular American 20th century music.
So it sounds like listening to that music inspired you. And then who would give you feedback about your singing? If, you were young and you were singing, who would say, yeah, you know what? I really think that's something that you can do. You could sing.
Yeah, no, I was very shy about it. I really didn't come into that until my 30s, and I didn't, I was content to, to be in piano bars, or before that, I guess karaoke and things like that you did in your 20s just for fun. But didn't really think it was going anywhere, and didn't really have any plans to have it go anywhere until you do get feedback. And my friends and my family were very supportive of that, and it sort of leads you to get the courage to one day call up Stan Rubin, who we unfortunately just lost about three weeks ago, the great band leader. And we could talk about him too, but very important man in my life that I just called him one day and auditioned for him, and he liked what he heard, and was the first real important musical person I was ever associated with, and he was a great supporter, and did so much for the sort of nightclub career, I guess I have right now, and that was just that kind of feedback and encouragement was vital.
But I think Kitty Daniels did too. I remember
Oh,
in the
absolutely.
documentary you had said that she really gave you a boost.
Oh, yes. No, well, it really did start with Miss Kitty. Was talking about, Stan was he had the orchestra in Manhattan that was at the time, and still is, doing the Sinatra shows, and that's sort of my lane. But yes, that encouragement, feedback, and support really did start with Miss Kitty, and doing that, just for fun, music in the San Marco Lounge at
Yeah.
Donatello's, and then all of a sudden, word gets out, and people want to hear you, and they want to know when you go in there next,
Hmm.
and you build a little bit of a following, and
Hmm.
and really that's how it came from. But yes, that you know that experience with Miss Kitty was, I'm not doing the stuff that I'm doing with the Stan Rubin Orchestra if it wasn't for Miss Kitty.
Yeah. Yeah, she was amazing. You could just sit at the piano bar with her, and she could tell just by looking at the way that you responded to the music that she was playing. She could tell if you were a musician or not. And I'm really glad that you just
Yeah.
happened into that restaurant, and the Yankees were here for spring training in Tampa, Florida, and that the two of you got together. So, one of the
Well,
questions
she's
that
such a
I
major talent on her own, but
she
her
is.
her spirit, and her willingness to want to help any singer of any level. If you wanted to do the music with her, she was patient, and can do it with you, and would guide you along, and could play it in any key, and
Yeah.
put her own magical spin on things, and make you sound like you knew what you were doing up there. Um, that was her magic and her legacy.
She had a really good way of playing along with you, listening to you, but then also leading you, which is such a
Yeah.
skill. You don't get that with every pianist. She
No.
would tell you if you were in the right key, if you weren't in the right key. She would change the key midway. She was just
Yes.
unbelievable. Taught me a lot. One of the things I do like to ask, because I like to think about if we can help other people to thrive by talking about passion and purpose and perseverance. I heard Mel Robbins ask Angela Duckworth, who focuses on grit, which is those three things. I heard her ask this question, and I'd like to ask you as well. Would you agree that purpose having a sense of responsibility and then acting with the intention of helping others, which is exactly what Miss Kitty did?
Yeah. I mean, I think the purpose and the is in the response that you get. That if you, just from a musical standpoint, if you're focused on doing this music, you want to present it in a way that is true to the original, and everyone that came before you that presented it. So, and then getting the, I always like the Frank Sinatra had a quote, and I think he borrowed it from Humphrey Bogart, who said, "The only thing you owe an audience is a good performance." Now, that kind of strips away everything else. If you're having a bad day and nobody cares about what else is going on in your life, or whatever opinions or biases you take to something, you owe the audience, whether that's an audience of readers or an audience of jazz aficionados out there, a good performance. And a good performance means doing it in the way, in the style that people are accustomed to hearing it, and being true to every aspect of that music, if you want to put it in that realm, whether it's the fellow who wrote the person who wrote the melody, or who wrote the lyric, and the arranger. So I mean, that would be my purpose to an audience, is to present it in the way that they're accustomed and used to and want to hear it. I don't know if that really answers the question, but that's
Yeah.
I think you have that responsibility every time you go out there, because that's being true to the original, and that's what we're trying to present, because this music is timeless.
And speaking of timeless, and what you do is you bring people back to another era. And it's interesting that you've even studied Frank Sinatra and been a member of the International Sinatra Society in Lakeland, Florida. So
That was a long
you're
time
very,
ago.
but you're dedicated, you really are dedicated to his style. When you perform in New York City clubs, you use the same musical arrangements and the same type of nightclub atmosphere with a small band.
Yeah, well, we were lucky enough with, Stan Rubin was an incredible man, and he, just going back to his career, which began, straight out of Princeton, which he attended. He somehow befriended Grace Kelly at an event, and got to be one of the bands at a very young age, in his 20s, to play one of the royal wedding parties in Monaco for her marriage to Prince Rainier. So that, I mean, to have a career start like that, and but Stan did have, he was a jazz guy and a big band guy, but he did love Sinatra. And somehow, when I got to know Stan, he had countless arrangements of Sinatra songs that were, a lot of them were transcribed by another guy from Florida, who was a dear man named Bob Friedlander. And so when I started with the Stan Rubin Orchestra in 2006, and backing up Stephen Maglio, who still does the show now, we're playing with sort of slightly shrunken down, but true arrangements of all those original great hits in the 50s and 60s that Sinatra did, that were arranged by guys like Billy May and Nelson Riddle. So just to have that alone was quite something. So that I mean, that only just sort of propels you that you want to do more of it, and you want to present that music, because who else is doing that? I don't think there's too many bands out there that have those originals transcribed, that can perform those to a live audience.
So even with all of that, with the arrangements, did anything ever go wrong? And what did you learn from your biggest professional failure
I
singing?
mean, I mean, it's been said, I'm sure, a zillion times, but it's true that you really only learn from your failures and mistakes, and there are plenty of them. But you learn. you really do learn it, whether it's in baseball writing where you've got a story written and then with 2 outs in the ninth inning and somebody hits a home run and changes everything. You learn to adjust on the fly, and then if you're in a nightclub situation and the speaker goes out or there's a lost chart or something, you've got to pivot to something else. I mean, you learn from all those experiences, and you really learn. And you learn to, I mean, at the Carnegie Club, which I'm fortunate to play at, that's it's a smoking venue, right? And you learn pretty quickly that the star of the show is the cigar, because there's probably only a half a dozen places indoors where you can smoke, even in New York City. So people are coming for that experience first, and maybe the music second on like a Thursday night when we're just doing the small band stuff. But if people want to hear you, they'll listen and they'll get something out of it. But you can't think that everybody's going to be in rapt attention listening to you when you're in a bar situation and there's conversations going on, and people want to be with their company, but if they want to listen, they'll listen, and they'll get something out of it. So I think just all that experience, but I don't think there's any. I haven't had a better education than being with an orchestra, and I sort of learned how. Well, I got an understanding where you would hear Frank Sinatra talk about his days with the Harry James Orchestra, and then after that Tommy Dorsey Band. How much he learned about being a musician, being an instrument in the orchestra, because as a singer, as a band singer, you are, whether you can read a note of music or not, and I can't. I used to be able to, but I don't. It's been a long time since I took piano lessons. That you are an instrument in the orchestra as a singer, and you learn that. And if you don't learn that, you're not going to last very long. You're an accompanist too, accompanying the band. You might be sort of the lead horn there, so to speak, but you are part of an organization, and it is a great education, and it opens your ears. It really does. You listen, you follow, you react, and the best. If you're doing it at a level that it should be doing, you're doing it sort of differently every time. You're catching nuances. You're listening to different phrases. You're doing a lyric a little different. You're accenting a note here or a word there, and it's just an ongoing, wonderful education.
And it doesn't sound like it's that easy. You just mentioned a lot of different elements that go into singing.
Yeah, I'm, but if it come, there are things that come out. I mean, I'm sure it's like in any field where there are certain things that come naturally to you that you can then expand on through just practicing and doing it and experiencing things and opening yourself to different interpretations of it. But I mean, that's just I think that's just in any walk of life too. That if you're adept at something, that probably comes more natural to you than somebody else. But it could be in any field.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever feel like this is too hard and something that you're doing is too hard and you decide not to do it anymore?
Well, I mean, I'm sure that yes, there's pieces of music that I'll pass on but you have to just do what feels natural and good for you. It's just it's like just wearing clothes that fit you, right? It's just this kind of thing. It's you have to do what suits you and sort of expand on that rather than I'm not saying don't take on challenges, but at least musically at some point I think you know where your lane is. I certainly know where mine is. I'm not going to suddenly be doing Pavarotti out here.
It's a good way to look at it. So one of the things that you have done is you performed on The Late Show, which is the Stephen Colbert show.
Yeah.
He's invited you to come on and sing a couple of times. And one of the questions that he likes to ask, which I also like to ask too, is what keeps you inspired?
Well, I mean, the feedback you get certainly keeps you inspired. That people like hearing what you do, and you can continue to do it. I mean, that certainly inspires me. It inspires me to do even more, at least in the music field. With the bands, and hopefully that'll continue. But yeah, I think that aspiration that comes from the feedback you get, that inspiration, and it certainly inspired me to want to continue doing as much of it as I can.
And what are you hoping to do next?
Well, I mean, if I had one at least musical dream, I would love to at some point go on the road with a like a sextet, and do that Sinatra music that I love so much. There was a period in Sinatra's life. He did a world tour in 1962, and it was with a six-piece orchestra that they kind of shrunk down all those great arrangements, and he would do like a 20 song concert and did it all over the world. And I mean, and it's a big aspiration, but if I could do anything musically, I would love to do that music with that type of band anywhere I could, and would be a great way to see a lot of other places. I mean, you said I traveled the world with the Yankees. Well, I've been lucky enough to been to Japan and London as a writer covering the team, and I love to travel. And I'd love to travel. I mean, been to Paris and London several times, but I would love to see the rest of the world. And there would be no better way to see it than to do it as a performer, I think.
So we just need to find a Frank Sinatra enthusiast who would like to sponsor that show.
Yes, if you've got several $1 million and like to sponsor a lounge singer to go around the world with a sextet, I'm your guy.
Well, we just have to tell him that you had the same voice coach, John Mace, as Bette Midler. Maybe that would help to inspire them.
Yes. Well, not only did the great John Mace have Bette Midler, he had several other. He had a Rolodex of Broadway singers, and I was lucky enough to get placed with him by Stan Rubin, who knew him, and I still do Mr. Mace's exercises every week. Those vocal exercises that keep you in shape and get you ready for a performance. It's like a pitcher before a baseball game. You got to warm up, and you got to stick with it and do those exercises weekly to just maintain your instrument. And I owe him. That was another great man that I owe so much to.
Well, what would be your advice for someone else who's starting on their journey?
I mean, it's another thing that's been said a zillion times, but follow your passions. I've been fortunate to be able to follow mine with and exercise those in a professional as a profession. But I don't think it's. I would say that it is to have a very fulfilling experience. You have to follow your passions, right? Why else do something? So I just would say that. I mean, I don't know. I've been sort of narrow in my fields. In the writing and the music, but I would just say that if you really want to have a fulfilling experience, just find a way to turn your passion and your goals into something you can continue doing.
So speaking of
Probably
continuing to do
loudly said,
something,
but
no, it makes sense. It's like take what you do well. What comes easy, it doesn't have to be something that's really hard,
yeah.
but take something that comes naturally to you. And if you love doing what comes naturally to you, I'm just paraphrasing, I think what you said,
Oh, that's
then
much better said than I did.
just go for it.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, I think you're really lucky that you were born in a city where you could pursue that and you had people around you that supported you. But interestingly enough, you had an amazing mentor in Tampa, Florida, through your job with the Yankees.
Yes,
So
that
that brought you here.
no
Yeah.
question. That
Yeah.
that's really where it started. Yeah.
So you did mention like do things consistently and be consistent in your effort and pursue that. So what do you do consistently each day?
Uh, you know what? I don't know if I do anything really consistently each day. I'm not the most organized person. I'm not the most focused person in a lot of ways. I, but you learn to you know as we said Ed before. I mean, in a lot of ways, you learn to adapt and sort of go with the flow with things. Thing that I love about baseball is that I mean, there's nothing scripted about it, right? There's a game can go in any direction. Um, it's not like watching the same Broadway play every day where you know the outcome. And I sort of like that. I like where I like to sort of move where things take me, and I get a chance to do that a lot musically. You get a call every now and then. Somebody wants you for a show or an event or something, and you get to find out how to you know incorporate yourself into a different area or something slightly different than what you've been doing and do it in front of a different audience and then you learn how to do something that you never thought you could do or didn't imagine before. I just got a call to do a show in Florida in a few weeks, and it's going to be something that's production style. I've never done that. I'm looking forward to doing that. I think just keep yourself open to sort of moving in any direction that and don't there's another thing my father told me, which is great advice too. It's just, especially when I was starting out as a writer, just say yes to everything and figure it out. Say yes to everything, and I mean, if it's people want you to. I mean, just talking about in the realm of professional. Your boss tells you to
Right.
do that. If you don't think you can do it, but say yes. You might surprise yourself, right?
Yeah. I've
And then
done
you
that
can
before.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think something that you might do consistently, but I know that you ran the New York City Marathon, and that was the day before you were on the Stephen Colbert Show. So do you run every day?
Not every day, and I'm certainly not running in 7-degree weather, which we have in New York right now. And but when I get back in Florida, that's when I start running again. And then, of course, I love it. It's become an unexpected passion of mine that I didn't think I had.
Uh-huh.
So
So,
yeah, and that was an interesting 48 hours running and doing the marathon, and then getting a call the next morning when I hadn't planned on doing anything more strenuous than laying on the couch for the next 24 hours. But that was an interesting couple of days because getting to go to the Ed Sullivan Theater and meeting John Batiste, who was the musical director at that time for the Colbert Show, and getting that put together in a couple hours, and getting to experience how they put out a television show like that every day, and all the work and the writing and the passion that goes into that. That was that was quite an interesting 48 hours. I'll never forget it.
That was a great show too, because that's on YouTube, and I'll add that link in the show notes.
Thank you.
So if our listeners would like to find out more about you, what are some of the links that they can go to online?
The writing is will be down for Yankee spring training in a couple of weeks, and NorthJersey.com is where you can find all the Yankee stuff. I do have a website. I think it's PeteCaldera.com. I need to update it because I'll have all the dates where I'm doing music, starting with the Carnegie Club on February 5th, and filling in for Steve Maglio a few times, a couple times coming up through March, and there'll be things going on in the summer. And I'm really excited about the stuff we do at the Jazz Loft in Stony Brook, Long Island, with the great Tom Manuel, who does a superb job. He's a superb musician and a great friend. With big band, 18-piece orchestra, we do a lot of Sinatra stuff that comes up in May, and then again in November and early December. So really looking forward to that too. So go to the Jazz Loft website; you'll find all those. All those dates
I'll
there.
make sure. I'll make sure to include that in the show notes. And
Okay.
speaking of shows, I can't wait to see you down here
So
in
looking forward to
Florida.
it.
Looking forward
you,
to
Louise.
it. Definitely. You're welcome. Thanks, Pete
All right.
Caldera.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining us at Shaping Our Story. And thanks to Pete Caldera, whose consistent ability to improvise is proof that he combines his passion with perseverance. If you enjoyed this week's episode, click on follow and leave a comment to inspire us or suggest a guest. And remember, if this made you think, share the thought. See you next time.